All right. Hello, everyone. We are here for joint hearing of the Committee on Energy and Environmental Protection and Committee on Housing. It is Friday, February 3rd, 10:30 a.m. We're in conference room 325, and we have one bill on this agenda today, and we'll vote after both agenda. We hear the bills on both agendas. House Bill 327 is first up, relating to rooftop solar installation. And this says beginning on January 1st, 2024, prohibits the issuance of new building permits for single-family dwellings that are part of a development of 10 or more dwellings and do not include a rooftop PV energy generating system unless a variance is granted. And first up to testify, we have the Hawaii State Energy Office. Marie.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. Maria Tome with the Hawaii State Energy Office. You have our written testimony supporting the intent and offering comments on this bill. As you know, we are very supportive of renewable energy, and many of the studies that are looking at our resources do assume that rooftops have solar on them. So our comments are relating to the details of implementation. Thank you very much for hearing this bill.
Thank you. And next up is our Revolution Hawaii on Zoom.
Good morning. Thank you very much. We are totally, completely supportive of this legislation requiring rooftop solar for single-family dwellings. Developments for 10 or more is a very good start for Hawaii, but we can do better. In 2018, California passed a law requiring rooftop PV on every new home. Hawaii should do the same. Extensive studies in California show that all homeowners would see lower cost if their homes had rooftop solar. With Hawaii's climate being even more favorable for solar and electric rates are even higher, it's virtually certain that the same or better results would happen in Hawaii. It's basically a no-brainer. Consumers have rooftop solar slash their energy cost and energy use. Climate change is here. It's real. It's getting worse and worse, and we have to do something radically and very quickly if we're going to prevent perpetual climate chaos. So please pass HB 327 and move us to a clean, renewable energy economy and future. Science tells us we must transition now. Our grandchildren and great-grandchildren are counting on us. Thank you so much, and appreciate. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you. And next up is NIOP Hawaii on Zoom in opposition. Not present. Okay. Then we have written testimony from Hawaiian Electric offering comments. Testimony and support from 350 Hawaii. Hawaii Realtors. Not present. In opposition. Hawaii Climate Action Coalition in support. Gentry Homes Limited in opposition. BIA Hawaii in opposition. AAC in opposition.
I'm here.
Oh, please come forward.
Hello. Can you hear me? My name is Lee Covey, and I'm a DOD environmental contractor. I've been in the field of toxicology and contamination of soil, air, and water for 35 years. At least 35 years I've been paid for it. And I have an issue with pushing a lot of EVs and solar and stuff. Yesterday we had a bill, 186, to prohibit the mining of the materials needed for batteries and solar panels. And I'm not a climate denier or anything. And I totally, I'm a diver, I've been diving, and I have a love for our environment. But the thing is, we're pushing these products, and at the same time we want to prohibit the mining of it. Now, HB 186, I hope I have an opportunity with Rep. Lowen and to go over some of that, because what we're not talking about is the Clarion-Clipperton Zone. What that means is, okay, so we stopped mining in Hawaii, right? But the Clarion-Clipperton Zone that has been already studied, that has the most abundant of undersea minerals, goes from Hawaii all the way to Mexico.
Okay, I appreciate the comments on HB 186, but can you keep your comments to this bill,
So what I'm
please?
saying is, I think we should really take great consideration in pushing these products that we're also trying to ban the mining of what's required for these products. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have, there's 3 individuals in support who did not indicate they would be present on Zoom or in person. Is there anyone else here to testify on this? Please come forward.
Good morning, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Ted Boland for the Climate Protectors Hawaii. We're in a climate emergency as declared by this legislature. We need to do all we can to get off of fossil fuels, and rooftop solar is a great opportunity to do that. This bill is reasonable in applying it to developments of 10 and more, and I think this bill would be a great first step for Hawaii. So the Climate Protectors Hawaii are in strong support. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to testify in person or on Zoom? If not, members, questions?
Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Oh, so for the State Energy Office,
Hello, yes.
hi, thanks for being here. Do you have an estimated cost for this additional requirement?
You mean within our staff to manage the
No,
exemption?
for the
Oh,
building.
No, I do not.
You do not have a cost.
No.
Okay, so in the testimony from, hold on, I forgot my mouse, so. Oh, Gentry Companies, they said the costs to do installation of a PV system may cost approximately $34,000 to $45,000 with battery backups. Do you think that's a reasonable projected cost?
It does seem within, it depends on the size of the system and the batteries. So I'm not going to quibble with their costs. It seems a little on the higher end, but, you know, we have not looked at that specific costing of current technologies with this bill.
Okay, can you guys do that and get back to us in terms of the cost? Also, I had a question. How do you balance development of affordable housing with these mandates to increase the cost for development?
We have not included that in our testimony. So I am not.
Well, I understand you didn't,
It
but
is-
it's a
it is
question
about-
that I
yes,
wanted to ask
Yes,
you.
we have many competing needs. So I'm not sure how to answer that question. We were testifying.
Do you folks consider that at all?
Can you summarize?
To the extent that we are able to in what we are doing, we are always including that. That, for example, is some of the more comprehensive studies, but we did not do that for this specific bill, so I do not want to misspeak.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Apologies.
Thank you. Sorry, we're going a little bit against protocol, but I think there's a testifier that wanted to testify that just showed up 1 minute late. So if there's anyone else here to testify, this is your final chance. Please come forward.
Sorry, Sterling Higa testifying on behalf of Housing Hawaii's Future. But it's odd because you have like the support or oppose options, but you don't really have like a middle option of saying like, maybe like think this through. One of the concerns that we've identified at Housing Hawaii's Future, having researched housing extensively in the last 18 months, is a lot of measures like this are passed without consideration of the cost benefit, right? And what the impact is going to be. As legislators, and obviously you are subject committee people who have to think about your committee.
Are you in support or opposition?
Opposition of the bill is
Comments?
presently written,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
One of the things you have to do is to weigh various competing interests. And my primary concern, especially having seen some of the other testimony, is that there doesn't seem to be a robust weighing of various competing interests in the bill thus far. I would urge you to consider, looking at what the impacts are, especially on housing construction. If you add, let's say you add $25,000 to the cost of a house, that gets passed through, that's $50,000 for the buyer. Developers are not, they don't eat the cost. The buyers end up eating the cost. So you could make a house unaffordable so that someone can't get the house. And yes, the person who does buy the house, which will probably be someone who's not from Hawaii, will get like the benefits of PV, and then a local family won't have a home. So just maybe think about the costs and the benefits. I'm not sure where you'll ultimately come down on it, but I don't think there's been a robust discussion about the costs and benefits of this bill. And I urge you to oppose for now. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that is the end of our testimony. Any other members have questions? All right, I have a quick question. Hawaii State Energy Office, please.
Yes, Chair.
Noting that your testimony was primarily based on the request in this bill for you to implement the granting of variances, you do comment supporting the intent, and I think, can you speak to, I guess, of course, we hope all our state agencies, we hope the people over in housing in the state are thinking about climate change and decarbonization and energy efficiency and long-term cost to consumers of electric bills. And we hope on some level the Hawaii State Energy Office is thinking about affordable housing, but you guys have separate missions. So can you speak to what the primary mission of the State Energy Office is?
So our mission is to promote energy efficiency, renewable energy, energy resiliency, and clean transportation to help achieve a decarbonized economy. And part of what we are looking at in the long-term success of these does definitely include the affordability of energy, the affordability of the choices we are making. So when we're looking at what is the overall cost of something like this, for example, it's not only the cost of the equipment, but also the tax credits that are put in place, and both at the state and federal level, we are trying to get grants to bring into the state to do the studies that would be helpful in making these determinations and identifying what pathways are most cost-effective, feasible, and quickly implementable given the emissions that are occurring while we're waiting for some of these perfect technologies to show up. So there is a certain amount of urgency, but there also needs to be a deliberative process. So so we are definitely thinking of those. One of the cost-benefit analyses that we do when we're considering these is the cost to live in the building, if we're talking about residential, right? So what's the payback period for an investment in the solar and battery? And will it reduce your rates enough, and how long will it take for that to be paid off? So that goes into part of that whole economic analysis. We have to do that for the solar water heater variance process. So that is part of the consideration. I apologize, I did not have that prepared for this, but.
Yeah, I don't know that that's the job of the State Energy Office, but I think it would be interesting whether it's State Energy Office in partnership with, other agencies involved with housing to see that cost-benefit analysis, because, how much would it add to the upfront cost? What would be the payback period? But I think there is a long-term benefit to the consumer. I mean, we do hope Hawaii residents are purchasing these homes. That's another issue that needs to be addressed, but, yeah, it would be helpful to know what we would estimate the payback period would be for something like this.
And we are looking at the very high level with the decarbonization study that our office has been tasked with as well.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, members? Go ahead, Rep. Ward.
Similar question. Obviously, this depends on what HECO is going to give as a payback and as an advantage. Is there anything in the bill that says, yeah, we're going to sign you up, we're going to make sure that we got this on the roof, but then HECO can't pull the rug from underneath the process? Because they've done, we had net metering, and then suddenly that died quickly to the disappointment of many. Now we've got if you don't have a battery, you're not going to save any money. Is there anything in the future, HECO or PUC, that says, hey, we passed this, but yet they're not going to be able to take advantage of it because the gain is so much less than the loss or the costs? The HECO question is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
because that's where this thing really has patered to it.
I cannot speak for HECO or the Public Utilities Commission, but this bill specifically does not have a requirement for HECO to have a particular approach to the energy that's generated. The bill does, I think somebody did ask if it had battery.
It does require
And so that would be part of the interconnection discussions with HECO.
So if the bill has nothing to do with HECO, it's only for self-sufficiency of the residential owner. Is that correct? Question mark. Anyway, that's a concern I have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
And, oh, go ahead,
I have a
Martin.
follow-up question. This bill does have a requirement for batteries, and I know that for larger developers, it might actually change the investment for the whole project, because with the rooftop plus batteries, they might not have to invest in so much infrastructure, which can be very costly, and increase the cost for each unit within the development. In California, when they implemented this, they found that it was extremely cost-saving. I know that installing a solar rooftop system after the fact, the roof might not be designed well for it in terms of space for the solar panels, direction. You might have irregularities in the roof surface. And so the idea is that with the design, it's much more efficient and cost-effective and cheaper. So my question,
Okay, go ahead.
so my question is, given that, have you folks looked at, the difference of the cost of systems that are designed for the rooftop versus adding things after the fact?
No, not that level. We usually just do the quick payback and then comparing to the cost of electricity. And when oil prices are high, as they are now, of course, and if we are concerned about, continuing global instability also affecting oil prices, that's when we are very concerned about that volatility. And having generation on the home avoids some of those costs of the volatility or that shock of, hey, I can't pay my electric bill this month. So that is something else to be considered in the economic analyses that are done, both for the large scale and specific measures like this.
Thanks. Any other questions, members? All right, if not, we'll
I have a follow-up.
Oh, go ahead, Rep. Onishi.
So it states that the minimum storage capacity, not less than 5 kilowatts of generating capacity, and shall include an energy storage device such as a battery. So the battery capacity is not specified. So for a family of 4 for a battery system to support their needs for an evening, what is the kilowatt usage?
I don't have that figure. I don't have that figure right now. I guess it depends on what, what their daily use is. I could get
Well,
back
I
to you
mean,
on that.
on
Yeah.
average.
Yeah. I don't have that, I apologize. But that is a question. If
So-
you were going,
so-
if you were going to specify a minimum battery size, of course, you would be interested in establishing what the target is. Whereas the bill allows, I believe, the flexibility to size the battery as needed.
Yeah, but
But as
who's
far
going to
as-
design that? I mean, is
Oh,
it left up to
yeah.
the developer
I do not have
or
that
the
answer.
homeowner? My other question is, okay, so if their battery storage is not large enough to cover their overnight usage, they still have to install a power cable, right, from the utility company?
I would expect that in the current design of homes with solar and battery, they are planning to be connected to the utility.
Right, so
Yes.
there's no savings in terms of that, right?
If you-
The need to install a backup firm power
I think that would be a
source.
good question for the developers, going back to the previous point, is if you are developing a system and you have this capability within the community to be self-sufficient, can you reduce the electricity demand that is assumed in the interconnection with the utility system? And it is the objective.
But bad weather and
of the-
stuff, you
yes.
can't account for that, right? So you still need that firm power backup.
Right, so in the case of a storm where, if you could island your community, the microgrid concept, that could have a value that I think would be difficult to quantify, but when we're talking about resiliency of our communities, that should be considered, I do believe. Yeah, that is a value. the ability to produce your power within
Okay.
your community.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks.
Just a quick follow-up, just to clarify for everyone, I mean, most solar plus battery systems are still not off-grid. That's pretty standard, and there's still there's actually a benefit to the utility of having those batteries attached to the grid.
So for example, yes, the battery bonus program actually gives an incentive for folks who have solar or who want to add solar. If they have the battery on site at their home, and they sign up for this program as a scheduled dispatch, and the utility can use that battery to support the whole grid. Well, not the whole, I mean, it supports the grid, and so all of these batteries together combine to support the grid in the evening. Anyway, so that is an active program at this time. So I guess if we were going to be quantifying this, we'd need to specify whether or not those homes are attached with the battery bonus part of it too. So.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, members? All right, if not, we will recess. We'll move on to the housing lead agenda. We'll do decision-making after both agendas.
All right, members, we'll gavel into our 1035. So this is for HB 1247 relating to development projects. First up, we have Scott Glenn, Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Good morning, Chair Hashimoto, Chair Lowen, Vice Chairs, members of the committees. The Office of Planning and Sustainable Development submitted testimony with comments. I also have with me Tom Eisen from the Office of formerly OEQC, our Environmental Review Program planner, available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the State Environmental Advisory Council with comments on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair Hashimoto, Chair Lowen, and Vice Chairs and members of the committees. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify today. My name is Onauna Thone, and I'm the Chair of the State Environmental Advisory Council. We submitted written comments on HB 1247. One thing I did want to briefly note, and which did not make it into our written comments, is actually a question to the committees, and hopefully somebody today is able to respond to it. Section 8 of the bill proposes to retroactively apply, this exemption if it was to go forward to environmental assessments that were approved and EISs that were accepted back to 2019. That provision isn't clear to the council, since once you comply with Chapter 343 and you get that approval for your document, you're basically done with 343 at that point. So if somebody could please clarify that for us, that would be helpful to the council's further consideration of this bill. I'm available for questions should you folks have any, and thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Wayne Tanaka, Sierra Club of Hawaii.
Good morning, Chair Hashimoto, Chair Lowen, members of the committees. Wayne Tanaka with the Sierra Club of Hawaii. We submitted written testimony in opposition to this measure, and just wanted to highlight that the issue of providing exemptions for housing projects that are on public lands or using public funds has been something we've actually been working on for about a year now. Since last session, we've been having pretty fruitful conversations with the developer community, and we're actually going to present a draft of what we had come up with right before, just a few weeks ago, although that meeting got canceled for scheduling issues. But all that to say, we would just respectfully ask that maybe we be allowed to kind of see that process through before the legislature pursues, larger exemptions that might not have balanced all of the interests that we kind of hashed out in the off period. Otherwise, happy to answer any questions that the committees may have.
All right, thank you. We have Ted Boland, Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition and Climate Protectors Hawaii.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committees. Ted Boland, as you said, Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition and Climate Protectors Hawaii. I think we all support more affordable housing for Hawaii. We recognize that need, and we support it in our groups. But this bill does a lot more than that, and it does so in a way that takes a sledgehammer to the environmental review law. I was the Deputy Attorney General representing the Office of Environmental Quality Control and the Environmental Council for 15 years. I'm aware of the precedent that's been established over 40 years of how projects should be treated, particularly with regard to segmentation and related projects, which this bill would exempt consideration of. So I think the bill goes far beyond what it needs to do. I have concerns about the retroactive provision that the last speaker referred to. I think this bill does much more than it needs to do, and I respectfully but strongly oppose the bill and urge the committee to either start from scratch or make some major changes to it, because you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. This statute has a good purpose in terms of public disclosure of environmental impacts. That benefits everybody, because we want to get the impacts of a project out front. We don't want to find out after we've already spent a lot of money that, oops, we forgot to consider this environmental impact. So that's the reason for opposition. I thank you all for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. We have Bianca Isaki on Zoom. In opposition, anyone else wishing to testify on this matter in person or on Zoom? All right, and we have a number of written testimonies, so members, you can take a look at that online. Members, questions? All right, seeing none, we're going to recess for decision making.
All right, we are reconvening the joint committees on Energy and Environmental Protection and Committee on Housing. We are decision-making on House Bill 327 relating to rooftop solar installation. So we're going to make some changes to this. We're going to add language to make the administration of these requirements an allowable use of the Energy Security Special Fund. We'll note in the committee report that the Hawaii State Energy Office would need an expenditure ceiling added on the ESSF to be able to administer the program and expend those funds. We will exempt affordable housing from this requirement, and note in the committee report the concerns of various testifiers about the impacts to the cost of housing. And we will defect the date to June 30th, 3000. With that, members, any discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate the intent of the measure, but I do have some concerns in what it looks like when we talk about DHHL homes, and if I'm not necessarily clear if they're exempt or not from it, but I don't want to create any more barriers in that capacity when we're building 900,000 development of homes. So at this time, I just want to vote no on that.
Thank you.
And
Oh, go ahead.
Chair,
Chair,
Go ahead.
question on the definition for affordable housing. Is that 201H affordable housing, or is that any affordable housing project in the state?
Yeah, we'll use the existing definition of affordable housing under the
201.
housing statute.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Chair.
Go ahead.
Mahalo, Chair. I do have concerns to make sure that we can ensure that we have the opportunity to not defer any opportunity to build more housing, including affordable housing, so I have some reservations.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, if not, Vice Chair, please take the vote.
Voting on HB 327, the chair elects to pass with amendments. Chair and vice chair vote aye. Are there representatives, any members voting no? Any with reservations?
Reservations.
One reservations, kahaloa, and chair, your measure is adopted.
And over to housing, thank you.
All right, same recommendation, members. Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, members voting on House Bill 327, Chair elects to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes no. Representative Keela.
No vote.
Representative Kitagawa.
Aye.
Representative Martin.
Aye.
Representative Onishi.
With reservations.
Representative Todd. Representative Matsumoto. Chair, your measure is adopted.
Thank you.
All right, and we will adjourn this hearing.
All right, great, members, we're going to gavel back. Pulling back the 10:35 agenda for decision-making. You know, the chair really appreciates the testifiers. I think this is one of my things that I really wanted to do is take a look at what things we could move along in the process of what's kind of stopping some development. I think, we want to make sure there's a balance with their environmental concerns. And I think that's something that we have to continue to take a look at. I appreciate OPSD's testimony. I appreciate Sierra Club's testimony. I think we'll continue working on this bill and this measure and similar types of measures. I think we're going to try and figure some of these things out if we have a good partnership with the new administration. So with that, members, we're going to defer this measure so we can continue working on it, and hopefully we'll have something in the future.
Can I comment?
Oh, go ahead.
Thanks for letting me comment. I just want to thank Chair of Housing for considering the bill and just, reviewing the testimony, deciding to defer, and just say, I know that that the Housing Committee has the best intentions and really is just concerned about being able to build affordable housing. And yeah, glad that we'll continue to work on this issue in the interim.
All right, thank you, members, and we're deferring this measure and we're adjourned.